The sixth generation of Pokemon games were announced today of the main series of RPGs, Pokemon X and Pokemon Y, and I figured I'm already getting requests to react to it, so I will. Wasn't expecting the sixth generation so early, and really the first thing I want to say is I told you guys that this was coming. I remember when, and I say you guys, I don't mean all of you. I know just the people this applied to. There are a lot of people who were just like livid and outraged at Nintendo and Game Freak when Black and White 2 were announced for Nintendo DS instead of Nintendo 3DS. And I was seeing all these outrage responses. Oh, Game Freak screwed us. Nintendo screwed us. They're making games for the obsolete DS instead of making them new games for 3DS. And I'm like, I'm telling you, when they planned Black and White, they planned Black and White 2, and they're going to use that to stall for time so they could work on the real next generation for the 3DS. And Nintendo and Game Freak, they could have very easily just slapped on some really like badly put in 3D effects on Black and White 2, made them 3DS exclusive, and 3DS might be like several million units ahead of where it's sold now. Instead, they made it for the system where that most people had, so that everyone who has a Nintendo DS or 3DS system can enjoy it, and they still put in 3DS exclusive features. So if you had a 3DS, you still got extra benefits, through Dream Radar and whatnot. So, so basically, Black and White 2 turned out fine. I haven't played them yet. I'm probably gonna get them now that I know that I have till October to catch up with Black and White 2, and then they were gonna have the first like fully polygonal 3D Pokemon games. This has been a long time coming. It's been something that's technically been theoretically possible on the DS, but they waited till now, and I'm really glad they went in this direction. I really love the sprites. I love the sprite battle screen, but out of all of Nintendo's franchises, or all the franchises associated with Nintendo, I love the Pokemon games, but really the Pokemon games have been the most conservative of out of all of the big Nintendo-related franchises. They're the ones that have really had the fewest dramatic changes from generation to generation, and this was a long time coming. And now that they've done it, it looks like they've spent some time on this. I know when they put Pokédex 3D out, when the 3DS eShop launched, I was saying like these 3D models, they're basically working on a set of standard 3D models for all the Pokemon that they're going to use across all the different games, and that's now seems like that's exactly what they're doing with these 3D models. So the battle screens are 3D, the overworld exploration scenes are 3D. These are interesting. There's a disclaimer saying that the graphics aren't finalized, and I think it can look a little pixelated on the web quality trailer. But I know a lot of 3DS footage doesn't look that good in the trailer, but when you actually view it and running in real time on a 3DS system, it looks absolutely gorgeous. So I'm not worried about the game not looking good, but there's a disclaimer on the trailer saying that the graphics are a work in progress. So hopefully it looks even better by the time it's finished. The battle screens look good. It looks basically like how they set up the Pokemon sort of Coliseum, Pokemon Battle Revolution, whatever style 3D battles on the home consoles, where you have a stock set of reactions for a Pokemon attacking and reacting, then they have a stock set of footage and sort of stock footage of the other Pokemon, and they don't. But it looks like they have more interaction between them than in like Pokemon Coliseum, for instance. So that's good because we're gonna have to be staring at these battles like throughout the entire game now. So hopefully they look a lot better than in the sort of Pokemon sort of spin-offs they had on the home consoles. The yeah, I actually thought I thought they'd maybe announce this towards the end of this year. I thought they'd take a lot longer. I thought it would take a lot longer for them to really make a really revolutionary, seemingly 3D Pokemon main series game for 3DS. I thought, if anything, if I was never anticipating remakes of Generation 3, the Hoenn games, but if they did make them, I thought they'd be for 3DS, but basically on the Gen 5 sort of style, and as a sort of to further delay them being able to totally revamp Pokemon for a proper next generation system. And it looks like and it's releasing simultaneously worldwide, which is a pretty big deal. I mean, it's ridiculous because Nintendo, they've and Game Freak, they've lost so much money to piracy because they launch it in Japan, then everyone in the other territories pirates it pretty much before it comes out in the U.S. and people start doing the fan translations. And I support fan translations when there's no chance of the game being localized, like Mother 3. But so that being said, I'm pretty happy with the announcement. Wasn't expecting it so soon. The new starters, they look cool. I don't like them as much as the Gen 5 starters, but I do think the grass type one, he looks cool. He looks sort of like a Pachirisu sort of ripoff, but he still looks pretty cool. The frog one, he's cool. I'm probably not going to choose that one. The Firefox one, the little Fennec Fox one, Fennec something, I forgot its name, but that's the one I'm probably going to choose when I get the games. This October, and you know, the reason Game Freak has a lot of they have a lot to do to make this a proper 3DS game. I don't want it to be like with Gen 4, Ruby and no Diamond and Pearl, and when they came out with it, and they had lots of new features that used the DS, but then when Gen 5 came out, that was like, oh, the Gen 5 is what the DS really could do for Pokemon. I don't want it to be like that. I want this to really utilize everything that the 3DS has to offer. I'd love to have, like, we have a companion app for Pokemon Black and White 2 and Dream Radar. I want a sort of a companion app for Gen 6 that's almost basically the equivalent of the Pokewalker from Heart Gold and Soul Silver that's built into the 3DS. It's just a separate app where you to drop Pokemon on or off, and it's seamlessly integrated with your game card or download a copy of Pokemon X or Y. And I like things like being able to use game coins. A really great way, I think, awesome thing would be to if game coins could be exchanged for in-game currency, or would offer you like a 25% discount on in-game like purchases, like at the shops to buy items and stuff, because that would basically reward people for actually like going out and doing things and having their 3DS with them, as opposed to someone who's could just sit in one place and play for hours. Having an active lifestyle would also be equally rewarded in progressing through the game, and that seems to be something they really cared about doing with a Heart Gold and Soul Silver. So I hope they carry that on to there. It has to have awesome Street Pass functionality. I'm gonna make a whole video about the Street Pass possibilities for Pokemon X and Y. The names. I'm a big guy. I have a lot. I'm really fixated on sort of nomenclature. When I look at what someone chooses to name a character or name a game or a movie, I have a sort of tendency to really pick apart and analyze why they named it that way. Like for instance, the Japanese the name Earthbound in the U.S. is known as Mother in Japan, and Mother is always written in all capitals when it's written in Japan. Like the official title is Mother in all caps, and they replace the O with a globe. And there's a lot you could read into that. Why is it all caps? Why did they replace the O with the planet Earth? Or like the children's book series is Dark Materials. What does that mean? What's the root of that? Or just things like that. I'm very interested in names, like how they've dropped in Pokemon X and Y. They've dropped normally in America. They've named them Pokemon blank version, like Pokemon Red version, Pokemon Black version, Pokemon White version. And then when White and Black 2 came, their official names were White version 2 and Black version 2. And this one, the official names they're using in the US are just Pokemon X and Pokemon Y. Now, it's always especially with Pokemon Black and White, there's a lot you could read into that. Like, there was a game sort of about contrasts and opposing, about opposites and, sort of differing points of view and things a bit like that. And Pokemon X and Y, extremely enigmatic. I think I'm saying it right. Yeah, it's sort of an enigma of a title because X and Y are, they're variables. They're indicative of an unknown factor, of uncertainty, of variables, and what is X and Y. people have talked about X and Y in terms of like coordinates or X and Y chromosomes having to do with DNA or whatever. One thing I will say about X and Y, it seems like the Y themed legendary is a bird, and the Y axis is the axis that rises north. Like on a two-dimensional surface, the Y axis is the axis that would rise north, and the X axis, which is sort of a deer-like thing, is obviously walking on the ground. So that's the X axis is the one that's would go east and west, sort of flat. So that's kind of interesting parallel there. Um, I think that's about enough. I think I've said enough about it. Oh, I have to talk about. It seems as though the region is based on France. It seems like the Pokemon World Tour is not stopping in New York. It's gone to Europe now, and it seems like it's based on France. There's one building that looks exactly like the Palace of Versailles. There's a city that looks like Paris. There's a tower that looks like the Eiffel Tower. And at the beginning of the official trailer, there's Pikachu is standing on top of the real life Eiffel Tower, and then it zooms out before the real actual gameplay trailer begins. So I know if you've anyone who's followed my channel knows I've had an enormously fun time being from the New York City metropolitan area, having a Pokemon game, not one but two, based on New York and New Jersey. So if it turns out to be confirmed that the new region is based on France, then congratulations, French Pokemon fans, because you have a place in the Pokemon world now, and it's a really fun feeling. I hope someone, if it is turns out to be France, goes out there and does some location tours or whatever, like I did for different parts of New York that got turned into aspects of Unova. It could theoretically also be Europe in general, which would kind of be a shame. I think if you can get a whole region just out of New York and New Jersey, then I'm sure you can get a whole region just out of France. They've been like three regions, four regions based on Japan. Now I want to see a region based on France. I want to see one based on England and Wales. I want to see one based on Scotland. I want to see regions, in South America and Asia, continental Asia, and Africa, and all around the world. So that'll be fun. The French thing is all speculation at this point, but the speculation pointing to it being France is about as strong as the speculation early on of Unova being based on New York, at least as terms of what I see. So I guess those French Pokemon gamers will have their fingers crossed, and maybe they'll have a place in the Pokemon world. The trainer models, they're not sprites anymore. They look like they might be customizable. If they're not customizable, it looks like they sure as heck should be. I think I've said enough, and that's it for now. And thank you very much for watching.